Man, you have a hammer. It's a window.
Shut up.
Come on.
It's indestructible.
See? Breaking a window's not as easy as you thought, unless you know the right hack. This is your secret weapon.
A spark plug.
Yeah. Like this, it's no good, but if you smash it with a hammer, take one of those pieces of porcelain, just give it a little toss out on the window.
This.
Just that.
All right. Go, 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 go!
That was awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cordkillers. Our mission is to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so you can watch the stuff you love when you want, where you want, on whatever device you feel like watching it on. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and I don't know about you, Tom, but I feel like our entire show is a lie, and what everyone should do is subscribe to cable right this minute and make sure to tune in.
What are you talking about?
At exactly 8 p.m. Central on National Geographic to see me on an hour-long primetime special called Hacking the System on Nat Geo.
Say that again. What day?
That's this Thursday, the 27th of February.
That's the 27th of February.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And I feel now you'll notice that I'm telling you what to watch, when to watch it, and how to watch it, because I believe in the exact opposite of everything that we've set up until this point.
So Brian gets a television show and just goes all cord healer.
That's right. That is correct. I'm a cord healer now. I just want us to get along and for us to have a lot more episodes of Hacking the System. Look, it's a really, really great show. I'm really excited about it. It's about hacking the planet, everything from how criminals break into your house to how you could talk your way out of speeding tickets. If it's underhanded and a clever life hack, then you'll see it on the show. We, of course, would love for the whole world to tune in this Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern and Pacific.
I've learned so much just by watching the clips on YouTube. I don't lock any of my doors anymore.
Yeah, right on, man.
Because they're just going to take pictures.
Wait, what does it matter?
Watch the show. All right, to join us and put some of the anger back in the show that Brian has lost because he's now a famous television star, Ayaz Akhtar is joining us today from CNET.com. Ayaz, you are a cord ignorer, as far as I understand.
Yeah, so I'm not really bringing the rage today. I'll try to call it up, but I will get. I got it. I can key in on the idea that I do have cable television, only because it's cheaper to have cable TV and the internet speed I want. So even if I wanted that same internet speed, I'd have to pay more money to not have cable TV. That's why I'm such a happy Comcast subscriber.
Oh boy, yeah, we got some happy Comcast subscribers in Netflix. That's part of our primary target.
Yeah, man. Let's jump into a primary target. Let's do this.
So, folks, you're going to see a lot of headlines out there. Maybe 80% of them are going to be inaccurate, involving Comcast and Netflix and what they have agreed to. Over the weekend, the headlines started to break that Comcast and Netflix had agreed to what's called an interconnect. And they both put out a statement saying, yeah, we did this. Netflix isn't causing a ruckus. They're not complaining that they had to pay Comcast. Wall Street Journal reports that Netflix is paying for this agreement. Ars Technica said, our sources couldn't confirm that there's any money changing hands. Most of the people I've talked to in the industry actually say, yeah, they're probably paying a little bit of money. But here's the thing. Netflix pays another provider for what's called transit. That's the ability to say, you know what, if somebody needs to access our servers with our video and they don't connect directly with us, like for instance, Google Fiber does. Google Fiber has Netflix boxes in the data center. Then they'll need to get to us somehow, and that's what Level 3, Cogent, these transit providers give. They give us service, so Netflix pays for that service. What Netflix is doing is saying, okay, Comcast, you have a lot of subscribers, and pretty soon you're going to have a third of the United States. What if you just act as the transit provider? We'll pay you directly instead of paying this third party to get onto your network. And what it sounds like they've done, according to Ars Technica, is in a third-party location, not in Comcast, not in Netflix. Netflix puts their servers with all the videos. connects it to a Comcast router that then sends it into the Comcast network. And that is what Netflix is paying for. So from there, you can start to draw your own conclusions, but at least you know what is really going on. It's not Comcast degrading Netflix service and saying you have to pay if you want to come faster. It's not Comcast charging Netflix to access their customers directly. It's saying, hey, instead of going through these other providers and not having as good of a connection because, you know, frankly, these guys, we have problems with these guys too. Why don't we just save each other money? And that's what they're doing. And this kind of thing happens all the time on the internet. It just doesn't involve Netflix, and it rarely involves Comcast.
In particular, the article that you forwarded over to me was extremely enlightening, mainly for the pure, abject Ayaz Akhtar-like rage that was coming out of the guy
for the
misunderstanding.
about the streaming media.
Yeah, can you tell people how to find that one?
Yeah, Dan Rayburn wrote. He wasn't trying to be purely objective, and he's a little snotty about it. But he wrote a good explanation of what people are getting wrong. It's called "Inside the Netflix Comcast Deal." We'll have a link at cordkillers.com eventually, or just go to blog.streamingmedia.com and look for it there.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what. Before I read this article, I was under the impression, and of course, look, here's the thing. It's like, when I think about the difference between, you know, latency, throughput, speed, bandwidth, or whatever, all these terms that lay people tend to use interchangeably, it made me think of trying to understand the difference between voltage and amperage and which one represents, you know, like water pressure versus throughput of volume and so on. I guess at the end of it, if you're a dumbass like me, you're left with the impression that all I know is Comcast was not making it fast to get to Netflix. Some money changed hands, and now it's fast to get to Netflix. Therefore, net neutrality is dead. Is that the way the whole world heard it?
That's what people are writing, and that's what it sounds like. But this doesn't involve net neutrality, and the difference is, I'm not saying that one is better or worse than the other, but the difference is what was happening with Netflix on Comcast was the transit provider, that third party. Their connection to Comcast was getting overloaded, and Comcast was like, well, we don't want to add capacity. Now, that's a little crappy, and it's a negotiating tactic. But the fact of the matter was, you could still get to Netflix content on the internet. There was no neutrality being violated. They weren't actively slowing people down. We talked about that. So what happened is, Comcast and Netflix went to the bargaining table and said, hey, you know, we will have to provide you a service level agreement for bringing in your traffic, and so let's come to an agreement. And they did. It's the way the internet works behind the scenes. The fact that it's an ISP, the fact that it's an ISP that has been in hot water for possible actual net neutrality violations,
and the fact that all this happened like hours after an important court decision came down regarding the future of net neutrality has to factor in as well.
Yeah, and the fact that it's Comcast who owns NBC Universal has a vested interest in competing with Netflix, right? All of these things raise questions, but all of the people who do this all the time have told me, like, yeah, we understand how it looks, but from inside the industry, it just looks like two big data one big data provider and one big internet backbone provider, essentially, coming to an interconnect agreement, and that's perfectly normal.
I say we go to the internet's expert in anger management, Ayaz Akhtar. Ayaz, walk us through the stages of comprehension as all this went through with you.
Sure. So I had to read about this story because I was guesting on Daily Tech News Show, and I had to appear not to be an idiot. So I had to understand this, and then Tom explained it on the show. And if I get this metaphor incorrect, I'm sure Tom will correct me. This idea that sending packets is kind of like sending things through the postal service or through UPS. And the idea is that Netflix was kind of doing this. They were sending out these packages to places, but then it turns out Comcast is kind of like a gated community. And Comcast is like, hey, how about you just deliver all your stuff to this one location? We'll pick it up there. I think this is right so far. And it just becomes cheaper. And the thing about this whole scenario, it's if you understand what's going on, you might not get so angry, but there will be an irrational fear. This immediate fear of, why are these two companies talking? They shouldn't be talking. If it wasn't advantageous for Netflix to get into what would appear to be a really bizarre relationship with Comcast, there's no way Netflix would do this. And if Comcast decides to get a little bit screwy, it seems like Netflix would still have the ability to go to any of these other companies and go, you know what? We don't like what you're doing, Comcast. We're going to go back to Cogent, and we'll do it this way because we don't like the way things are going.
Well, they also could take Comcast to court for breach of contract.
Touche, sir. You know, the reaction for this, and it's not good that people are misrepresenting the facts in the media. It's not good that they're writing inflammatory headlines and all that stuff. But if there is a silver lining in the ridiculous overreaction that we're seeing to all this, it's that, you know, the whole subject of net neutrality is a tricky one. The EFF has published papers where they say, on the one hand, we want all bits to be treated equally. We want the end result of net neutrality. On the other hand, we, as being the EFF, are not big fans of the FCC injecting the hammer of law into what people can and can't do with their internet shaping traffic. Sitting on the sidelines watching all this, I have quietly hoped that net neutrality as a subject for consumers would be a super electrified third rail, something that would immediately send people frothing at the mouth, that only the dumbest business would put themselves in a position to open themselves up to a media crap storm over this kind of thing. And when I see reactions like this, kind of makes me happy. Is that weird? Is that a bad strategy long term?
I think you're right, because it's a chance for people to understand a little bit more about how things work. It's telling that that folks at Netflix are not out there leading the charge when they said recently, like, oh, we'll raise holy hell if there's a net neutrality violation. So it's a good way for people to go, well, wait a minute. Is that net neutrality? Because I don't want that violated, and kind of define what it is. And really what it brings to light is the fact that there aren't enough competitors on the internet service provider end, right? Netflix can't hold leverage over Comcast to say, well, we're not going to pay for an interconnect agreement because your customers are going to leave and go across the street to the other ISP. So we need to do what's called a settlement-free peering agreement because you need us. Remember, Netflix isn't sending traffic to Comcast. Comcast users are requesting access. That's what they pay Comcast for. It's an internet service provider. What's happening, though, is Comcast says, well, that overloads our servers because there's so much more traffic coming in than is going to you, right? It's just a little bit. So that ratio is out of balance. Netflix could hold it over them, say, well, tough luck. You're going to lose customers if you don't have good Netflix packets coming through, packet management. And Comcast right now is like, well, no, we won't, because they don't have anywhere to go.
Right. Well, and keep in mind also, like, none of us are as happy as we want to be with the proliferation of competing internet service providers. We all want there to be more, but, and we've talked about this last week, there's definitely more available now than there were 10 years ago, and we're certainly trending in the right direction. We just wish we could get there faster.
Yeah, this is Ayaz kind of mentioned this metaphor. This is the gated community that is Comcast agreeing with the, pie company that is Netflix to have the pies delivered directly, right? And the pie company is going to pay the gated community to come pick up the pies rather than paying UPS to take the pies to the gated community. Net neutrality would be the gated community going, oh, we have about 3 pie companies coming here, so if you want your pies to show up in our gated community at all, you're going to have to pay extra. But we have other pie companies that we pay less.
Holy cow. This is, without a doubt, the finest net neutrality argument ever to involve both pies and gated communities. I actually like this quite a bit, Tom.
Yeah, because it's not about the flavor. Actually, if the flavor of the pies would be even better. They're like, yeah, we make a lot of blueberry pies here in the gated community, so you can send us any pies you want, but if you send us blueberry, you have to pay extra.
Funkarius in the chat says, I want to live in this pie-gated community.
There's so many pies.
It's the only way people will understand neutrality and this kind of thing. It's like that you give them the 2 things they love, pie and Netflix.
That's true.
That'll make people go, what? What's happening? That's usually, they're like meerkats. You write the word Netflix anywhere, it's just...
Well, all right. Well, I say that you finally solved the issue of net neutrality, Tom, and it's time for us to move on to our secondary target.
Yes.
Next segment.
Because I don't think we can solve this one, Brian.
What? No, we can solve all of them.
Aereo has lost its first copyright fight in the Western District. U.S. District Judge Dale Kimball ruled that Aereo's retransmission of copyrighted programs, quote, is indistinguishable from a cable company and falls squarely within the language of transmit clauses. He did not buy Aereo's argument that it's a system of renting a tiny antenna to each a customer to allow it to avoid the transmit clause. So he issued the injunction and said, okay, you've got 2 operations in my district, Denver and Salt Lake City. You got to stop those because I think the broadcasters are going to win their court case against you. That doesn't change the fact that April 22nd, all of this is going to go to the Supreme Court, and Aereo is going to be arguing in front of the Supreme Court against the broadcasters and vice versa. By June, we might actually have a Supreme Court decision on this.
So 6 states, Aereo is effectively banned, at least until we hear from the Supreme Court, and they're only going to start looking at it in late April. Who knows? How do you know how long Supreme Court cases tend to go, Tom?
Well, you're probably, as a retired lawyer, a better person to ask about that.
How long they go? It depends on if they can find a way out.
How quickly they can just kick it back to someone else.
I'm not. Yeah,
Ars Technica seems to think they'll have a decision by June.
Yeah, I mean, there's just there's usually a tendency of the Supreme Court not to take on the case if they can find some kind of way to get out of it. Then they throw it back to the states to figure it out, or the circuits.
So in this case, I guess the only thing that it really matters, because again, the Supreme Court's going to rule however the Supreme Court's going to rule. It does matter, though, in that this is a significant dent to the momentum that Aereo had been enjoying up until this moment. They had a lot of wins, right?
One might, yeah. Well, legally, absolutely, it's a bump in the road. They were going in undefeated. Now they're going in 2-1. But it still doesn't change what the Supreme Court justices are going to think necessarily. It's just kind of a morale effector. The broadcasters are feeling good because they're coming off a win. I think the arguments are all the same, and what the Supreme Court justices are going to do with those arguments, or what the Supreme Court justices are going to do with those arguments, either way. It doesn't matter what Judge Kimball said. I don't think this is a very precedent-setting decision. However, it hasn't slowed their momentum in rolling out new cities because Austin, Texas is getting Aereo.
Heck yes, dude. I heard words from someone who may or may not be a buddy of mine, who may or may not have been involved in a beta, who may or may not have whispered that maybe Aereo may or may not be coming to Austin. But I'm glad that it's out in the public and that it's actually happening. And this seems like something that I would definitely sign up for, just if for no other reason, so I could report hands-on with this thing, whether or not it's worth $8 more a month.
Yeah, Aereo's case and their momentum, this whole thing has been going on for the past however long they've existed. I mean, they were kind of treading on a legal gray line, and the law is kind of weird because it doesn't like you to do workarounds. So if you are saying that you can't do ABC, and you're like, well, I'll do ACB. Like, well, that's not that shouldn't be. The weird thing is, in tax, it's totally allowed. That's totally cool, and people love it. Certain things that are not. So the longer they keep trying this, and the Supreme Court's going to figure out what happens with this one way or another. But I think Aereo's going to pull it out because it seems like they kind of did everything technically right.
Depends on how many Judge Kimballs there are in the Supreme Court who say, I don't care if you did anything technically right. It just looks like cable to me. So you're just trying to get around the law.
I mean, doesn't that kind of enrage you? At least it does with me, because the whole point, the whole reason they came up with this utterly ridiculous Rube Goldberg solution to this problem, it was just so they could bother to obey the freaking law. That's why it's stupid, is because that's the law you guys made, and those are the precedents you've set. So now we're doing our stupid, ridiculous Rube Goldberg contraption, and then at the end of it, they're like, yeah, but it just looks like you're just doing a cable thing. I was like, screw you! You don't get to do that!
They'd write like, it's violating the spirit of the law, which is a fun thing to say, the spirit of the law. Like, what the hell is that? I don't know. It depends whatever arguments are going to be done, and like that's like nothing like seeing Brian Schwood losing it because of the absurdity of the court system. I mean, this is going to be argued. These arguments that Aereo's presented in these circuits are going to be reheard basically by the Supreme Court because they're not going to come up with new stuff. There's a reason why they came up with what they came up with, and it's going to be a really interesting case.
Yeah,
it reminds me of a kid trying to get away with something and the parents catching them. That's Judge Kimball's attitude. Like, okay, so you technically have a micro antenna, whatever. You know that the reason this law is here is because you're not supposed to retransmit over the internet. You know, I don't care if you got your hand in the cookie jar and you hadn't taken the candy yet. You're going to get punished.
I don't know. Well, I guess, I don't know. I'll tell you what, all of a sudden, all of a sudden, this is like the most interesting Supreme Court decision to me. I've never really cared what the Supreme Court's up to until now. Like now, I just want to like open up a betting pool and see like which justice people will think will go which way and so on.
Yeah, we should do a fantasy Supreme Court decision on Aereo.
Fantasy Supreme Court justice. I love it. Let's do that.
Hey, should we take a moment and thank the folks that make this show possible? Brian, who are they?
Well, the problem, one.
Let's name them all.
Larry Samuelson, Zachary Holder, Ayaz Akhtar. Okay, look, I don't have time. Guess how many, hey, Ayaz, guess how many people we have to answer to. Guess how many bosses we have?
7?
1,463 people supporting us over at patreon.com/Cordkillers. And honestly, the show could not happen were it not for you guys. You guys have made so much possible. We can't thank you enough. And in fact, I got an email from somebody kind of whining because he's an audio listener. And there's like a minute at the end of our audio podcast where he's just listening to music and he doesn't understand why it's so long. And the answer, of course, if you're an audio listener, is that is at the end when we list all of our contributors who are kicking in $5 or more per episode. That means we got a lot of bosses, and we apologize that we have to take a little time to say thank you because it means a lot to us. It couldn't happen without you guys, and we can't thank you enough.
So if you want to see who our bosses are, go to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Yeah.
You can see them all. Well, some of them remain anonymous.
Yeah, why don't you become one of them? You know, you could donate a penny. 1 penny gets you into the early access to it's spoiler in time.
Yeah, and it honors Brian's daughter at the same time.
That's right, my daughter Penelope. Every time you spend a penny, it honors Penny. That's what I say.
So do it now. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. All right, let's do some signals intelligence.
Yeah, let us do that.
Rugula do that. The lettuce pun. See. Not a lot of streaming news. Actually, the whole Netflix Comcast thing is the biggest one. So one little note here, and we've had some people say, I listen to your show, but I'm in the UK or I'm in Germany, and you're just always talking about your Amazon Primes and your instance, and we don't have that. Well, now you do. Amazon is rolling up Love Film into its Prime offering. So you not only get the shipping discount, you not only get the whatever other unlimited one-day shipping and access to the lending library on the Kindle. Now you get Amazon Prime Instant Streaming, which is the new name of Love Film after it's been rolled in, all for the price increase of £79 a year and €49 respectively.
Yeah, so what does this mean effectively? Like, translate everything to dollars and what our experience is like and how close this is to what we already do in the U.S.
79 pounds is roughly $131. 49 euros is roughly $67. Now, it was 49 pounds and 29 euros. So if you locked in the price before February 26th, then you get to pay at least a year under the old price. But essentially, before you had to go to Love Film and sign up separately, and they didn't have Amazon Prime Instant Streaming, where it's like, ooh, I get it all packaged up in one deal. So now it's a little cheaper. You don't have to pay the I think it was £6 a month that you paid for the Love Film. And you get it all in one. They're trying to do the U.S. model. The interesting thing is you can still pay not only the £6 a month for video, you can also pay for the DVD thing from Love Film separately. So Love Film still operates a little bit like Netflix. You don't have that option in the United States at all.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. What about you, Ayaz? Are you going to move to Europe so you can take advantage of this amazing deal?
That's exactly why I'd move to Europe.
No. You guys are doing exactly what pisses off the guys in UK and Germany and going, yeah, but what does this mean to the United States?
Well, no,
that's all that matters in the world.
I'm not saying what does it matter to the United States. What does it, explain it to me. You know how Reddit has explained like I'm 5? To me, I'm saying explain like I'm an American. Like this is how dumb I am. You need to dumb it down and speak American.
The whole point of this story is Amazon now has Prime Instant Streaming available in another part of the world. So people there that live there don't have to go, well, we don't have that anymore. They've got that option. And in fact, they actually have more options than the United States has.
I would love to see a breakdown of, because we think about this, we talk all the time about which services have which programming available at which time, but oftentimes we don't break it down by geography. We don't break it down like Europe has these available for streaming, but these not, which I don't know if I would like Well, I don't know. Maybe I think I would like that, especially in a world where we talked about like VPN services and the ability to essentially be. In fact, we got an email from somebody who suggested, and I'm only bringing this up because it's germane to the conversation, but somebody pointed out that you could theoretically buy HBO Nordic, the HBO only service, and then VPN into one of the qualifying countries for that because they accept international credit cards and so on.
Yeah, but if you're in Germany, you now have a cheaper way to access streaming movies. 12,000 TV episodes and movies. And in the UK, I think it's 15,000 if I'm reading this right. Yeah.
Well,
15,000
we can all agree that it's a step in the right direction, sir.
Good for those of us in the audience who are German or English or Scottish even or Welsh. Let's gear up.
All right. You insist, sir.
I knew! I insist we gear up because Mohu, the folks who make the Leaf antenna, which you've probably heard us talk about before, it's that flat antenna that lets you get over-the-air signals, really works really well. It's really easy to position. It's the best antenna I've ever used. They're making a box, the Mohu Channels box. It's actually not even a box. It's kind of a big dongle, 4.8 inches long, 2.6 inches wide. Connects to your antenna. You can buy it with a Mohu in the Kickstarter they're doing to get this thing going. And then connects to your TV through an HDMI cable so that you have over-the-air channels and Hulu and Netflix and all of your web video available in one interface. And that interface is a guide grid, not an app grid.
This sounds awesome. I love what this is looking to do because it's just going to take everything and make it simpler. My biggest gripe is, with channels. Channels are just codes for knowing where your programming is secretly hiding at various times. And if everything could be built in and super simple, I guess it really boils down to what price point this is, because part of the reason I went with the Leaf was because it was under $40.
Yeah, it's $79 for the actual channels thing, or if you, it'll go up to $89 after a while. It's a Kickstarter, so you have to back the Kickstarter right now. If you want the antenna and the dongle together, that's $99.
Now this is interesting. This is an established company that's doing a very smart thing in that they're allowing the market. They're able to test the waters in the market using the Kickstarter, traditionally an indie community, to gauge interest, and if this thing blows up, then they could bother to build the thing. What about you, Ayaz? Are you going to get one of these?
Maybe. I mean, when I looked at this and I was looking at the Kickstarter, it reminded me a lot of the Xbox One guide. I had that same kind of feel. You have your apps and you have your channels all in the same kind of feel. And I know that the grid seems like it's a bit dated, but for some reason in my head, looking at like something like an Apple TV or Roku and just seeing a grid of just these icons of these different things, it almost seems like they're not part of the same world because you got to go into this app and then you go into a different kind of feel. There's something about seeing the old, maybe this is just like an old thing that since I grew up on it, seeing a grid and then seeing, oh yeah, Netflix is an option, Hulu's an option, and there's channel 2, and just switching back and forth in that kind of way. Also might be easier to explain for folks who aren't as cord-killery as we are. They're just like, oh, I don't understand how that works, but I do know what a guide looks like. I'll just click this.
Yeah, I can see that. It
doesn't have a DVR function. That's my only thing that I think is negative about it.
I'll tell you what, though. I mean, okay, picture this. Rewind time, okay? You and I both bought the Leaf antenna, right? So we can actually have it. Imagine this was available right now, and you go to buy the Leaf antenna, and it's like, you can have just the antenna, or for $40 more, you can have the ability to not know or care the numbers of any of your channels. Like, I'm going to pay that $40 instantly, right? Wouldn't you?
$60 more.
$60 more, whatever.
But yeah, I mean, whatever. I also like the fact that it's Roku priced, right? But it allows you to add any website. So in Roku, it has to be in the App Store. You have to sideload it. With this, you can create anything as an option in that guide. You just type in the address, and it goes to the web, and it's like, wrapped it up. Okay, that's now a channel.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's that then.
I think it's a good first step. I'm going to try it out. I'm gonna see what it's like. I was backer 13, lucky 13.
Were you?
So we'll see if they get enough backers actually.
Right on, man.
Just getting started.
Hey, you want to say thank you to the other folks who make Cordkillers possible, real quick?
Wait, I thought that was our 1,463 bosses.
Turns out we have a 1,464th friend, a friend of the show, somebody who makes a lot of stuff possible. Talking about our friends over at Doghouse Systems. DoghouseSystems.com is what is powering everything that you're seeing right now. And in fact, we are having an ongoing relationship with them where we are trying to build kind of the ultimate set-top, or I guess really, desktop, television top box?
The one box that everybody wants to be able to have all of their things in one device. Doghouse is like, we'll make one of those. We'll give it our best shot. What do you want in it?
Exactly.
Cordkillers.
Which is
why
you need to go to Google, plus.google.com and look for the Cordkillers community. Just type in Cordkillers Doghouse Systems. You'll find it. We're having a big discussion like which software packages should come with it, what kind of remote control should be built into it, what kind of art would you want on the side of it. And in the meantime, if you guys are getting a desktop system, if you use 2 promo codes, you can use Cordkillers at checkout. You'll get double your memory. Or if you use Schwood, SHWOOD, that's my name, you'll get some custom art and $100 of scam cash, which you can spend at scamstuff.com.
Excellent. That's like $100 free.
That's yeah.
Wow. Let's see what's under surveillance.
I will see what's under surveillance.
I will see. We'll watch the watchers. We'll watch each other.
Peel back the surveillance and see what's under it.
The Veronica Mars movie, it was kickstarted. I've had a debate with people whether it was fully funded by the fans or partially funded. Some money was kicked in for distribution, so we'll just leave it at that. The fans made this happen. Let's just put it that way,
sure.
All right? It's going to be available online and in 270 theaters across the country at the same time on March 14th.
Now, there's 2 things that really are interesting to me about this. One is the fact that obviously we've talked about similar situations where a movie was available both in the theaters and for home distribution. But usually what they do, it was a tower heist. You could pay like $40 to watch it at home. But of course, part of the problem with this is that the theater owners, they probably are not thrilled that people could watch it at home. They would probably like an exclusivity. So, Tom, did you notice how they got around this?
Yeah, no, this is pretty clever. The reason the theater owners want an exclusivity is they get a cut of the ticket sales, right? They agreed with the movie distributor, okay, we'll show the movie, a bunch of people will come in to watch it, and we'll split the tickets. And so they say, look, if you're selling the movie out there somewhere else, that's fewer people likely to come in and spend a ticket. That's taking money out of our pockets. But you've probably seen those event commercials before the movies, especially at AMC theaters, like, come watch Casablanca, go to this Fathom Events page and sign up. That's a company that just rents out the theater and then shows their own movie. There's the theater's like, great, we're going to take our money, you paid for the theater. That's what Warner Brothers did with Veronica Mars. They rented out 270 theaters across the country. And we're like, you got your money, theater. You don't get to say anything about what we do with the movie, so they could show Veronica Mars and sell it online at the same time.
You think this is going to work, Ayaz?
I think it'll work. Look at the people who like the show in there. Whether it's going to be an experiment that we're going to see a lot more films try, I don't really know, because it seems like it's a great it's just a great experiment. What's going to happen is, are people going to just flock to a theater? Because Veronica Mars was a TV show, and the experience you normally had is maybe if you had a group experience, you'd watch it at home. So the idea that it's going to be in a theater, it's actually a bit unfamiliar, but then again, people love the idea of seeing this stuff on the big screen just because they put their money towards it. So I'm intrigued about how it's going to go. I don't see a ton of giant shift happening where all movies will look like this kind of just distribution.
It's a lot of money to spend up front. Mm-hmm. For a movie. They're not going to do this normally, but they can do it with Veronica Mars, right? Because they know people are coming to the theater. They did a whole Kickstarter just for that.
I'll tell you what, when this makes me think back to the resurrection of Firefly, when Serenity, was a $20 million investment that Universal made, and it was largely regarded as a failed experiment because it only made its $20 million back, which of course, as we all know, means it's a giant failure. And it makes me wonder if things were different, if this model had been adopted at the time, because I was there when Serenity came out, and I was there in the audience, and you felt that enthusiasm and that excitement, and it was a party, and they could have charged me double the price of every single one of those tickets just so I could say I was there at that moment for that event. And I wonder if we're creeping towards a position where you can maximize profits. You know, it's Uber is both loved and hated for their surge pricing. When there's a big event and there's a lot of money to be made and a lot of people who need rides, they like quadruple the prices, which of course brings a lot of cabs there and makes a lot of people money, also charges a lot of money. But meanwhile, people who want a cab are able to get one because they're willing to spend $80 on it. When we get to that point with content that we love, I think it's going to be good for super fans, for people who deeply, deeply love something but don't have enough numbers to justify it being primetime.
Well, it's all about the conversation, right? If the conversation is like it was with Veronica Mars, we would love to make this movie. To do that, you need to pony up. And if people are like, we will do it because we love this and we don't care. Take our money. They're throwing money at their screen. And then the guys from Veronica Mars say, could you actually just sign into your Amazon account and back us? Because throwing money at the screen doesn't get to us.
Turns out that's not an effective fundraising mechanism.
But the point is that in the end, they're willing to pay for it because they know that's how to make it happen. If it becomes we're trying to trick you into paying double, then people are going to turn against that. So it's only going to work for things that are truly beloved, I think. What
about you, IS? Do you love anything?
Yeah, lots of things, actually. But, I mean, that's a funny thing about Veronica Mars. This idea that everyone's going to go to the theater and watch this. Like you're talking about, Schwid. These people that are going to be there want to be there, so you're going to have a great crowd. It's kind of like that when you go to a Marvel movie kind of thing. There's that camaraderie, and you're like, this is cool. I want to be a part of this. So that kind of group experience, I think, is going to be fun for lots of folks.
Yeah, right on, man.
Well, and really, it's like everything else, except we're talking about movie theater prices going up in this case. But what the internet is doing is fitting demand to supply closer, and saying this is actually what the value of this should be. So,
agreed.
Time for some frontline hilarity.
Is that what we're calling it now?
I don't know.
Frontlines.
Do you know the Frontlines concept, Mr. Akhtar?
No, sir.
Oh, hold off on the clock.
Yeah,
I was just going to make sure I knew the rules of the road here. So the way we work, each story here gets 60 seconds. Mm-hmm. Each of us can extend it for 60 more seconds one time, and the rest of the time we just move on to the next story as soon as we get done with the 60 seconds.
All right, why don't you start us off here, Tom?
Amazon. What? More rumors. This time, Recode says they're going to launch a console or set-top box, but the first time we actually get a source saying it's going to happen in March. So yeah, within a month and a half, we might have a new entrant in the set-top box division.
Now this would be a month and a half to the announcement of it, right? Not the actual distribution of it. Is that something you're hungry for, Ayaz?
Absolutely not. I mean, Amazon's on enough devices right now. There's the Roku box, there's PlayStation, there's Xbox. But the thing is, I think a lot of people are because they want that flat out Amazon experience. Although I think the rumored name for a while, at least the project name, was FireTube, which might be, I hope, is not the real name.
You know what?
I wasn't sure that Amazon should make a tablet either, but the Kindle Fire seems to have done well.
You know, FireTube is kind of a weird name because you think like, I was going to set my house on fire. What you should do is get like something that embodies the essence of fire and call it like RedTube. I think that would go really well.
Perfect.
All right. Hey, man, did you guys see the teaser for HBO's Silicon Valley?
I did.
Yeah, did it make you laugh?
It actually did, a lot more than the last teaser did, which was just like 60 seconds, and it looked really stereotypical. This one I felt like, okay, it's got a little more depth to it, and it's got a little more awareness of the actual culture behind the Silicon Valley.
You know, I thought it was almost a little bit too high-minded. Like, the only part that I literally laughed out loud is when the doctor couldn't remember whether the guy did or didn't take the buyout, but that led to his suicide. Like, that to me was the existential agony of the Silicon Valley culture, I guess.
Are you a Mike Judge fan, IS?
Yeah, I had a fear that this thing was going to be terrible. Once anything says it's hilarious in the headline, I'm like, this is going to suck. And then I saw Mike Judge's behind it, and I could see the humor that's going to be in this. It looks pretty dang funny. And a lot of the actors I've seen in a lot of other roles. So hopefully they came together to do a good project. The trailer did get me to laugh a couple times out loud.
Haha.
Well, Brian and Ayaz, when I go to the Maryland State Capitol to film season 3 of House of Cards, I expect somewhere on the order of $15 million. Now, you better get that $15 million out of committee, Maryland, or I will take this production to another state.
Wow, man, that was amazing. That is the best impression of Walter Cronkite I've ever seen. Dude, yeah, so look, I don't blame them for trying to get all their tax credits. If you're a property, House of Cards is multi-million dollars, dozens of millions of dollars, and if there's money laying on the ground for tax credits, I say go for it.
Oh, I can't wait.
Media Rights Capital apparently brings in $250 million, according to the Washington Post, to the state of Maryland, so it's worth $15 million, one would say. Ayaz?
I said I can't wait for this to move to Vancouver and the nice, beautiful mountains of Washington, D.C. appear in the background.
And all of a sudden, it's all like it's watermarked Shutterstock on all the footage that you see of D.C.
Wait a minute, that's Granville Island. That's not Virginia.
Hey, guys, let's talk about something that actually matters. I don't know, like saving the freaking galaxy. Did you guys see the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer?
Yep.
Yes.
Man, oh man, I went from 0 to cannot wait on this thing so fast. It originally premiered, the first place I saw it was on the Jimmy Kimmel thing. So I actually thought, I hit play, and of course I'm somebody who doesn't know any of the backstory on Guardians of the Galaxy. First thing I see is John C. Reilly doing like a snarky, eye-rolling, who are these jokers thing, and I think, oh, this is a parody. And then I'm like, this is a really good parody. I'm like, if this isn't a parody, this is a movie I want to see. And then I was thrilled to discover that, man, Marvel, building franchises left and right, knocking it out of the park. I couldn't be more excited. What about you guys?
Ayaz?
I'm a Marvel guy. I think it's a great little pocket of the universe that's going to be explored. I think it's going to be okay.
What? All right, fine.
No, I mean, not the quality movie.
Yeah, 2 seconds.
Reaction to the movie. Not so great.
Tom. Whoa!
Hey, Google Fiber is ready to expand.
You got God, you jock! God, I'm using my extension. I gotta know what you thought of it.
Sorry.
What I thought about it, or what Tom?
No. What Tom thought about it. Tom was trying to like abdicate the throne or something.
Wait, you used your extension to make me have an opinion about Guardians of the Galaxy?
That's exactly what I did. That was a succinct
What if I don't
recap.
have an opinion?
Well, what do you then I want you to speculate wildly about what your opinion may turn out to be. The world wants to know.
I am not familiar with Guardians of the Galaxy as a franchise, as a comic franchise. I only know a little bit about Rocket Raccoon. So I had really no expectations when I watched these trailers, and they convinced me. They made me want to watch the movie. It looks like fun. I wonder if this is going to be like The Walking Dead, where people like me who don't know anything about the actual franchise enjoy it, and people like Ayaz who do are a little skeptical.
Yeah, all right. That's well put. You know what? I feel real good about using my extension. And now I yield the remainder of my time to the floor.
I wear extensions. Hey, Google Fiber is ready to expand. They've identified 34 cities and 9 metro areas that they're going to go meet with the municipal governments to do surveys of the land, to see how expensive it would be to implement the fiber, talk to the governments about like what kind of permits they would need. It's not about kickbacks. It's actually just about permitting. They're like, look, they're going to be getting 100 times their normal permits per day, so we need to be it needs to be a government that's ready for that. And they say even if they don't get approved, these governments will have a better idea of what they need to do to get fiber. So it's Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte, Nashville, Atlanta, San Antonio, Phoenix, San Jose, and Portland, along with Salt Lake City.
You know, and it's not just a matter of the handshake deals. Part of it is an infrastructure thing. A city where you have telephone poles still above ground and it's easy to just hang fiber optics from one point to another is obviously going to be more attractive than one where you're going to have to do a massive amount of digging. What about you, Ayaz? Are you going to get Google Fiber now? Did you make the list?
I didn't make the list. I'll never make the list. Google, go to more places.
Hey,
San
man.
Jose.
Find and watch TV shows on YouTube using couchtube.net. What's the story with this right here, sir?
Sebastien Delochier made it as part of a workshop, then got hired at Netflix. But what it does is it goes through YouTube, it looks for television shows, it matches it up with various databases, and then is able to say, okay, these are all the series, these are all the episodes in the series by season. So it becomes a lot easier to watch stuff on YouTube, whether it's an on-demand thing you're paying for or not.
Now, hold on. It seems to me like this essentially uses the exact same techniques that they used to fingerprint illegally uploaded copyrighted material.
Actually, no. The fingerprint's coming by looking at the video. This guy is just looking at the metadata, I think.
But this will find all of the illegally posted stuff or the stuff that's not authorized that hasn't been taken down yet.
It makes no judgments about whether it's legal or illegal.
All right.
It just says this is there, and it finds the legal stuff and the illegal equally.
What about Ayaz is shaking his head. Are you
Extension.
Okay, extension. So I actually used this service this morning, tried it out, and it actually gave me the idea of Back to the Future, the animated series. So what it actually started playing as episode 1 was like the future of wrestling. I'm not even kidding. So it's looking at metadata. Doesn't mean it's accurate. And when you
Season 1, episode 2 was actually Back to the Future, the animated series, though.
But this first one wasn't. So I'm just saying that this idea of like the ones that are copyrighted, you get this little thing on the corner, just like with music, saying if you paid for this, you can sign in for $2, or you sign in and you pay $2 for these items. So I think because of those little spots, those things will keep this service around for.
Do you think it's going to encourage people to put inaccurate metadata, hoping to cash in even more than it's already worked out?
I kind of hope so.
Why? Why would you hope that?
I like the idea that you're looking for, again, Back to the Future, and then you get pro wrestling. That's just not the same.
Really, the point of this is this guy made a pretty impressive interface for YouTube without YouTube's cooperation, got a job at Netflix out of it.
Yeah. Congratulations.
So
maybe we'll be seeing this kind of stuff. Maybe it would be better at Netflix to be able to find stuff.
Touche.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right on.
Look at this.
On our radar.
Wait, hold on. Wait, we got a transition. No, we don't.
I know.
That's right. There's a temporary transition.
Oh, that transition. Okay. Now I'm a little disappointed. Hey, the WWE launches its streaming wrestling network today. Andrew Zarian was nice enough to try it out and send us an email. Said, thought you guys might like some info on WWE Network since it launched today. Sign-up issues, but that was expected. The archive of content is great, but the action doesn't look that good. It looks like you are watching on the internet. You generally don't get that feeling when watching movies or TV shows on Netflix or Hulu. Live sports just doesn't look right. He's like 720p on a 65-inch TV. Just doesn't look good. Man,
you know what? That's a really good point, too, because like sports, of everything that you're going to see, is going to be the most graphically intensive because you have fast motions where the fidelity of what you're seeing matters an entire lot. And of course, Andrew Zarian of GFQ Network. Make sure to check out his stuff over at GFQ Network.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew, for sending us that. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, I don't know if it's on your radar, but my radar consists pretty much of nothing up until Thursday night. Hacking the System on National Geographic. It's a primetime, hour-long, 2-episode special starring yours truly. I'm very, very excited.
Now, I'm looking at this, and it says next airing 9:30 p.m. Eastern, February 27th. But
yeah.
You were saying 9 o'clock Eastern.
Well, it's 9 o'clock Eastern because it's 2 individual episodes. We wrote it as a half-hour series, and so we shot 2 episodes that will air as 2 half-hour episodes. One is hacking your home, the other is hacking your car. And so, and here's the other thing. If you have a DVR, understand that it's not going to list as a series yet because this is a special event. It's going to show up as 2 half-hour specials, so make sure to subscribe individually to both of those.
So on February 27th at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, if I want to watch Brian Brushwood's Hacking the System, I need to tune in at 9 o'clock for one special and then 9:30 for the other, or set my DVR to record both of them individually on February 27th at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern and 9:30 p.m. Eastern.
Man, you would think so, but you also need to make sure to hang out at diamondclub.tv while it's going on live, because then you can hear all the behind-the-scenes rocket sauce that went into the show, along with some special edition like stuff that got cut from the show. We're going to do a whole bunch of special features things. It'll be a lot of fun.
Also, the movie Son of God comes out.
Boo!
I don't know. The Lunchbox has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. There's just we're kind of in that lull period. Pompeii comes out February 21st. What? That's already out? Well, there you go. Let's see what's on screen.
Okay, go ahead. What's on your screen, Tom?
Not a whole freak of a lot. We did binge up on House of Cards and finish it up. I know we're going to talk about that in spoiler in time. I did watch Walking Dead last week, finally, but I haven't watched this week's yet. I'm like a week behind on that. And I've been keeping up on Downton Abbey, but that was its season finale, so I'm done. I don't even really know what I'm going to watch now. I did watch an episode of Father Ted, though.
Okay.
On Hulu.
Nothing wrong with that. I still respect you. So I continue to watch Don't Trust Andrew Main. I believe tonight will be the last hour-long episode at 11 o'clock Eastern for that. And so weirdly, like this same week that my silly television things happens, Andrews is the last of his series, so that'll be a lot of fun.
It's like a handoff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, or both of us going out with it's like I got invited to his rap party.
To the end, yeah.
Continue to watch House of Cards. I got through episode 10. It was like 1 o'clock last night, and I saw there were 3 more to go. And I was like, we'll just talk about through episode 10 on Spoiler in Time.
What about you, Ayaz Akhtar? What have you been watching lately?
I've been Netflixing, like having those marathons of Frasier since that entire run is on there. Deadly Women from Investigation Discovery. It's a from these what would you call them? Not reality show, but this hilarious dramatization
Docudrama
of these crimes. Yeah, docudrama. These crimes that have happened. They're like 15 minutes apiece. This little anthology show. It's pretty good. And I've been watching the WWE Network. It launched today, as you guys mentioned. And I guess I'm so used to seeing sports streaming because I haven't hooked up my cable box. I've seen the Super Bowl that way too. You just kind of get used to that weirdness, I guess, over time.
So it's not bad. You're just saying it looks like maybe a little off or something.
Well, even when you watch normal television programming, like something on Hulu, it still doesn't look the same as if you were watching it coming through an antenna or through your cable system.
Yeah.
I have to say, the best HD I get is over the air, the antenna.
Oh, yeah.
Bar none. Absolutely the best. Second best is from Netflix or probably Amazon Instant Prime. Third best is DirecTV because it's so overcompressed and it's kind of washed out.
I mean, hasn't that been the way for a while? I remember around 1999 when Time Warner Cable went to digital and they forced everyone to get digital boxes. They're all like, and because it's digital, it's even better. And then you would see the less popular channels like Discovery Science or so on, just super compressed. The audio sounding like crappier than the MP3s I was bootlegging at the time. It's I
remember when I had AT&T cable in 1999, and you would change a channel on the digital box, and everything would pixelate as it like reloaded.
Yeah.
The weird thing is WWE is working with Major League Baseball, so they should know how to compress large like crowds. I mean, that I think is actually the thing that's causing issues. They have just been having lots and lots of sign-up issues, system failures, streams weren't loading on Apple TV, just lots of problems because apparently they did not anticipate that the demand would be as high as it is, and it's insane. It's
a
really
good
cheap.
problem if they can keep them, if they don't blow everybody off doing this.
Problem now.
But you're right, MLB.TV looks great when I watch it.
Mm-hmm. And that's,
in fact, it looks good on both Apple TV and Roku.
Yeah, right.
It looks a little better on the Roku though. Hey, so everybo's saying we should watch True Detective, Brian. We should
oh my
probably,
God, yes, we totally should. And I'm talking about this. This is just from a guy who listens to a lot of podcasts that have people talking about True Detective. And it's like I'll listen to just enough to soak in their genuine enthusiasm for this without quite knowing what's going on. And I'll tell you what, look, as you guys all know, I'm getting ready to buy cable so that I can watch my own show. And so when I do, I'll have HBO Go, so I'll be able to watch True Detective, and we can talk about it.
All right, time for the dispatches from the front.
Yeah!
Give me that envelope. Batman. Batman.
Did you say Batman?
Batman. Never mind.
Batman.
Read some Evelyn Waugh novels. You know what I mean.
Hey, man. All right, so this one here, I don't know who this is from, and I apologize if I... If for not knowing, but it says here, so I'm new to your show and actually new to podcasts in general. When I saw the title of your show listed in my current podcast app of choice, Pocket Cast for Android, I knew that I had to have you in my morning commute. I'm a longtime cord cutter. I streamed on the Roku One back in the day, son, when Roku had Netflix Revision 3, and that's it. Today, I favor my Chromecast, anyway. I currently work for an installer. Oh, that's right. I intentionally left the name out because I didn't know if you would want this to be anonymous or not. I currently work as an installer for a major international ISP cable telephone company. Let's not get started on the subject of inner turmoil. Y'all's show plays over my Bluetooth earbuds as I reluctantly wire up Americans to the subpar internet infrastructure that I have to offer. So on to my gripe. And he says, I would like to make your show an important part of my lineup, except are you going to ruin my shows for me? And I sort of had two ways to interpret this question. I didn't know if he was talking about us accidentally making spoilers or if he's talking about like ruining his ability to enjoy all his shows because we give him other alternatives.
Existential. I'm going to assume what he means is spoiler in time, particularly, and which some people have said like spoiler in time is great if I've watched the shows, but sometimes I accidentally start playing the episode when it shows up in the feed, and then I realize, crap, I haven't seen the show.
I think we do a fair enough job of letting people know what's coming and what
it's in the title of the episode. And even if you accidentally start playing it, we usually give a little ramp up. But yes, the spoiler in time episodes that come middle of the week are going to ruin shows if you haven't seen them.
We sort of built that feature into the title by calling it spoiler in time. We didn't call it making it better in time. We called it spoiler in time.
Obfuscating what happened in time.
Right. Obfuscating what's happened in time, I think should be the alternate title, though.
Ayaz and I are going to start that show.
We'll just vaguely explain what kind of happened. Maybe. I like that idea.
Called the dance.
So there were some heroes. Don't want to say too much about them. They overcame some obstacles. I don't know. That's on the line.
That's a little bit too clear, actually. There were some challenges for the heroes.
They may or may not have overcome them.
Exactly. All right. So what does Richard say, Tom?
Well, Richard says, guys, I'm so psyched and impressed by how quickly you stood up the show, and I'm proud to be a patron. Richard, we are proud to have you. Thank you so much. The WhipNet that a listener wrote in about last week is a Mocha connector. These are great for slinging network signals over your coax to otherwise hard-to-reach places in your home, whether you're a cord killer or not. They're way more reliable than Powerline network carriers. Mocha never gained wide adoption, but it is baked into a surprising number of devices, including things like DVRs and even many service providers' routers. He goes on to talk about Verizon Fios and how he used it. But it was built into my DirecTV, too, actually, when I had the multi-home DirecTV back when I lived in San Rafael, California. And it was a way to extend the internet into a bedroom that I didn't want to run Ethernet to. So he's like, worth noting, I'm also still using my coax for cable service. My point is that this doesn't seem to in any way impede its ability to also carry network traffic. So we were mentioning, like, I'm not sure how much better it is if you have cable
like the
television.
power line, I think, was what the branding was on that. So apparently, and universally, all of the feedback we got was that like it was legit because it's all above the 1 gigahertz level is what people say.
I mean, you've done a lot of stuff like this. Have you ever used Mochas?
Mocha was one of the few ones I didn't bother to use, but my younger brother swears by it. He keeps telling me, like, you got to use this. This is really good. I'm like, well, I would just run Ethernet if I could, but he says Powerline isn't very good. He likes Mocha, and yeah, same thing. Everyone likes Mocha.
By the way, for the record, just to clarify, we don't want to upset anyone. Richard happens to be in the chat where he very loudly points out that he doesn't sound like that. That was not a good impression of Richard you were doing.
I actually, well, wait a minute. Richard says that's not him.
Oh, maybe. Oh, whoever the Richard is, apparently, is exactly the same. All right, fine.
I don't know. I was just my interpretation of excitement.
John,
no offense intended.
John asks us, can you talk a little about dual cord killers? I dropped cable and internet. For example, can you use Plex without internet? Can you use Aereo without internet? Can you use Simple TV without internet? It seems my only option is outdoor over-the-air antenna for $150 with Simple TV, $250, which I don't know if that's accurate, but that's fine. With Roku 3, $100. It'll take me a while to break even with the upfront cost of $500. Thanks, love the show. I would say to the first part of your question, no. If you're giving up one cable, you pretty much have to use the other cable or some way to get to the internet, right?
Unless you have a really high-speed wireless.
Yeah, exactly. And for the other, I suspect you've overstated the upfront costs for cutting the cord. Tom, would you think that's fair?
Outdoor over-the-air antenna might be $150. That sounds pricey, though. As we can do better than that, right?
That sounds pricey, but that sounds like it would be right if you were like in the middle of nowhere and you need a
like if you needed like okay, he might be, yeah.
Actually, even roof mounting it. Who knows if he's putting the cost of installation or his own installation on there. But yeah, I've seen antennas reach that level. Yeah, but you probably could get something for about $60 if you want. I know I had to get one for something out here in Petaluma.
Yeah. Anyway, it's all moot because if you don't have the internet, no, all you can get is over the air.
Yeah. So the answer is like, stop cutting too many cords. Look, you could take the message of this show too far, and that's what you've done,
it's
sir.
Meant in fun, for goodness sake. Brian has a television show on a tier of television that I don't even get. So.
Oh my gosh! Wait, you genuinely don't get it?
No, it doesn't come on the package I pay for.
Huh? Sure, you don't want to upgrade? Because I was thinking, like, I didn't know for sure if they would be able to install it fast enough over here for me to see it on Thursday.
Make me an offer. No,
we'll
talk. Chris wrote in and said, I love watching you guys, but I wonder why I've never heard any discussion about the myriad of Android mini PCs on the market. I have an MK808, which turns my TV into a 42-inch tablet. All the apps from the Play Store are available. If you can watch it on a tablet, you can watch it on your TV. It's like the emailer's knew IAS was going to be on. Maybe they did. And wrote us stuff that's like right in your wheelhouse. Like, I feel like you've done this topic before, IAS.
If you would be, your feeling is correct. I actually did play with the mini PC for these things, and I think that they are meant for a particular kind of audience. It's not for mass adoption. This idea that you can put, you can put Android and its tablet style interface on a large screen, but to mouse around in it is not optimal at all. So it's one of those, if you are willing to put up with the high level of somewhat bugginess and strange UI problems, yeah, this will totally work. And they are really cheap. And if you have like a dumb TV and you want to make it smart, this is a good way to do it. But it's hard to beat something like a Roku because it's so brain dead easy. But if you're willing to do the work, these little Android devices are pretty cool for that.
All right, well, that is it for this episode of the Cordkillers. Thank you, Ayaz Akhtar, for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, what do you got to promote, bud?
Okay, I'll promote myself today. Why not? I'll promote.
I gave myself a promotion.
That's good. Congratulations, sir.
Senior Vice President of IAS Co. I'll promote something I do for real life. CNET.com. We're doing some awesome stuff for Mobile World Congress. So if you're like, hey, what kind of phone could I hook up to my TV? What kind of crazy tablets are coming out? Check out CNET.com. And on the personal side, just follow me on Twitter @IAS. That's where you'll find out all my little independent projects and weird things that I do week to week.
Right on. You know what? While we're thanking people, not only thank you, Ayaz, but thank you to Jackie Hearn, who's been such an invaluable asset to this team. She's the one who wrangles all the guests and makes sure they show up on time. Thank you so much, Jackie.
Yeah, Jackie, I know you don't take compliments well, but take this one. You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Shut up and allow us to compliment you.
We're going to compliment all over your head. Like an egg.
You feel that? You feel that? That's us patting you on the head saying, good job. Who's a good job?
You can find all of our episodes at cordkillers.com, ladies and gentlemen. That is the place to go to find show notes. Thank you to Theater Monkey for taking care of those. That is the place to subscribe, to look at our face, to find our email address, which is cordkillers@gmail.com.
And you know what? I'm astonished at how many people are sending in their emails, not by sending it to cordkillers@gmail.com, but instead use the feedback form, which it works out just great. Yeah, hang out at cordkillers.com. Send us a message.
That's why it's there. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next time.